Hi, I'm Anthony Buonaspina, LA Tech Advisors CEO. And today we are inviting Mike here, who's from Easy DMARC. And we're going to be talking about email security today, how important it is, all the things that changed in the past month or two, right? And why it's so important to, bolster your email security now and monitor it ongoing and so on. So I'm going to have Mike, introduce himself. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Mike Anderson, I'm in charge of our global partner program for Easy DMARC. I've got a team that works for me and with me all across the world, supporting our MSP partners, well over about 800 plus, and so growing. And we grew immensely last year, about 700 MSPs. So that tells you the importance of this protocol and this product. And I've been in the business myself, probably like Anthony, a few decades. Got that little gray showing, but know
Hmm.
this very well, know technology very well, and seen a lot of things come and a lot of things go. And this is definitely a technology that is coming. It's mandatory, and it's a very important part of your customers' day-to-day infrastructure.
Okay. So basically, we have is Mike. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and that's me. In your time, you can do it. Basically, I have a history, like Mike said, is I am old as dirt and have done a lot. Um, and cybersecurity is one of my fortes. And Easy DMARC kind of rolls into this in the sense of being able to help secure our domains.
Yeah, it's just an acronym. It's a reporting standard, and so really what it's doing, it was put together by all the large email sending providers, the names that everybody knows on this call, like Microsoft, Google, AOL, Yahoo, and it was to prevent spoofing, and that's just a simple term for impersonating somebody else's domain. And they have some protocols. You have to align these protocols to fit your domain. And then there is a DMARC standard that says if these protocols don't work, what do we do? We
Mhm.
do nothing, or we quarantine these emails, or we reject them. And so, uh, why everybody's here today is because those standards went from optional after about a dozen years to mandatory. Okay, mandatory what? Meaning mandatory if you don't get those protocols aligned and your posture in place, your DMARC policy in place, you're going to start seeing some real effects on your email deliverability, including your emails being outright rejected, coming up very soon at the 1st of April. With the importance of email, everybody knows that's pretty much the lifeblood. Phone calls, yeah, but these emails, if your email's down, your business is stuck. If you have a retail business, yeah, you can keep going, but long
Mhm.
term, you really have to. This is part of business operations moving forward.
And again, main reason for doing this is because of email spoofing. Walk me through one of those. You're talking about a bad
Yeah,
actor.
so absolutely. So you see the terms down there at the in the second paragraph, SPF and DKIM. Just starting with SPF to make it real simple. SPF is the sender policy framework, meaning the sender, what email that's coming from, what domain that's coming from, and what email and domain it's going back to. So if that sender policy framework matches up, you're in good shape. That's the way your emails should be aligned. But when somebody tries to spoof you, they make it look like they're sending from Anthony.com, but it's really coming back to Mike.com. So that sender policy framework doesn't match, and that's how spoofing and phishing is done. You think the email is coming from the sender that but it's actually going back to some player that's trying to create an illegal situation, trying to rip you off or
Hmm.
commit fraud. And so DMARC was invented. If that policy doesn't line up, what do? We do nothing, or we quarantine that email, or reject that email. And that's where the sending providers want you to get to, is that reject policy. But before you do that, you have to have your SPF framework aligned to make sure that matches up. And so
Hmm.
it's a bunch of technical jargon, but there are protocols and policies put in place to prevent this stuff. And after so long, after a dozen years, you got to consider this is really a a monetary and operational play from the sending providers. They spend billions and billions and billions of dollars a year managing their email networks. Now, if you consider about 30 to 40% of that is overhead dedicated to spamming and spoofing and fraud, right? If they can put these protocols in place and reduce that, just do the math on what Microsoft, Google, AOL is saving years on $1 billion infrastructure. If that's 30%, those numbers are sizable. And so by forcing everybody to go to this compliance, they reduce that operational overhead and also protect us from ourselves in the long
Yeah.
run.
Oh, so true. I'm thinking of even from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
You get a CEO of a company, which I am, and I receive emails every day. And if I get something that looks like it's from one of my employees, now I'm not that big, so I know enough. But if you're big enough and you get some from an employee that says, "Hey, I need the ACH number for so and so," it looks like it's coming from within my organization. That's what we're trying to stop. We're trying to get it so it goes into my junk, so it gets rejected, and so on.
Yeah, and that's
And
what this was put in place for early on, but not enough people adopted it. So here we are.
what I'm going to do here too is go a little bit into this a little bit deeper. Like, one of the things is the setup. I talk to my clients about your product and so on, and just fixing their records and so on. Once I'm done with that, all right, I fix the problem at hand, because a lot of the clients come to me and say, "Hey, I can't send email anymore. It's going into my junk," and so on. I usually recommend a couple of things. One is that, of course, fix the records, fix the problem, but then ongoing monitoring. So what's the importance of the monitoring part?
Yeah, so you can equate it to there's a couple of things. Number one, every once in a while, the sending providers will change their records, so it will misalign you. And if you're not monitoring that and you have your policy set to quarantine or reject, now all of a sudden after a year or years, you may be misaligned, and now all of your emails are going into quarantine or being rejected. If you're not monitoring it, you don't know, right? And I always use the old analogy. It's like putting an alarm on a house, right? And you have an alarm, but nobody's monitoring it, and you're gone, you're out, your domain's out there in the ether, nobody's watching your domain, and something happens, DMARC related, and somebody's spoofing you, the alarm's going off, but nobody's monitoring it, nobody's coming to save you, right? So you have to put some monitoring mechanisms in place. And then the third reason is, we all know sometimes your marketing firm or your web designer or something will change something, or they'll add a new feature, or they may add a new marketing campaign and forget to notify you. Then all of a sudden, everything coming from that domain or that marketing campaign is not aligned. So you have your policy set to reject. So all of that stuff's being rejected. And what you paid them for to do now is not going through because the policy was misaligned. They didn't know that. They didn't notify you. Nobody was watching it, and all this stuff failed.
That's a very important point. I mean, you hire a marketing firm to do all this work, you're paying them a lot of money, and then you find out that it's all going into junk. All right. And what I usually tell a client to do, number one, like I have litechadvisors.com. That's my production domain. That's my baby. And
Yeah.
I can never have that go down. I'm using that in just collaboration. I usually tell clients to get a secondary domain, like we have LITech Family. We use that for to do our marketing, but both get monitored. It's so important. We have them both monitored, and with the records and everything set and enforced. Um, but it's just another level of like separating your production environment from your marketing.
Yeah, and there's threats going on all over the world, and part of your tool set shows them that threat analysis with the tools. And
Hmm.
so, if there's a threat coming up that becomes
No, I see.
visible,
And
you're able to, look at that IP address and perhaps put that in your firewall for blacklisting, because chances are, if they're trying that with email, that IP
mhm.
address might be trying something else, to get into the network somewhere. So it gives you visibility to protect your customers.
No, absolutely. Okay, again, this is basically talking about boost your brand reputation. Very important to make sure that you don't go into somebody's junk mail, because right off that's not a good thing. All right, so basically, if you have any questions at this point, please post them. and you'd be more than happy to answer them. But definitely reach out to Mike and his company, Easy DMARC. As far as especially if you're an MSP, they will work with you, and like they have with us. And it's a great product. I highly recommend it. And again, in our case, we put it as some of our standard packages. We just offer it out because it's necessary these days.
Yeah, and it's a new category that traditionally wasn't available in the past, and it's good news for any MSP or service provider on this, on this call. It's not bad news. This is a new category. This is new revenue, profitability, customer stickiness. All those financial metrics that you're looking for. This is a new standard that has to be met by every single sending provider on the planet. No one can escape it. So people that wouldn't have really never even maybe used an MSP before are not going to know how to do this. You broadcast your message out there, they start having email problems. They know it's related to DMARC and deliverability. They remember they got an email from you. They look it up, give you a call. You just got a deal.
All right, Mike, I can't thank you enough for the information you shared, and for reaching out to us and allowing us to use your product. It's been a major difference in our, with our clients. It's fixed so many of their problems. So again, thank you so much.
Yeah, grateful for having me. Thanks. And if we can ever do anything for you, do not hesitate to reach out.